Hey everyone, I'm Brandon Grasley, and this is Grasley Games, and we are here for another episode of MTG Noob, where we learn about some of the basic rules, the fundamentals of how to play Magic the Gathering. And here we have an evergreen mechanic, Hexproof. Let's see how this works. Here's a Benthic Giant. It is a 4/5 creature with Hexproof. Let's read carefully. This creature can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. It can still be the target of spells that you control. So for example, if they have a spell that says deal 3 damage to target creature, this creature can't be the target. So this is a good way to avoid having spells cast directly at creatures that you own. Here's the Glade Cover Scout. Same thing. This one has Hexproof. It's only a 1/1, but over the course of a game, if it can't be taken out with a spell, then you can get in a significant amount of damage using a creature like this. Please note, though, that just because a creature is hexproof doesn't mean that it can't be blocked. It can still be blocked in combat, and that's a good way to take out a hexproof creature if you can. Here's another one, the Ascended Law Mage. This one's a little harder to deal with in combat because it has flying, and it's a 3/2. Alpha Authority. This is an enchantment, an aura. You can enchant a creature that gives the enchanted creature hexproof, and also another bonus, it can't be blocked by more than one creature. So this lets you take a creature, make it so that it can't be the target of spells, and so that it's somewhat more difficult to block and kill. Here we have Aegis of the Gods. This is a creature. It happens to be an enchantment creature. Notice its text, you have hexproof, which means you, the player, you can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So for example, if they try to cast Lightning Bolt and target you, the player, that won't work. So they can't do direct damage to you, for example, with spells, or target you to force you to discard a card. Here's Blossoming Defense. This is an instant. It costs a green mana. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. So this is temporary hexproof. Let's look at how this might be used. So here's a core Scythe Master. It has first strike as long as it's attacking, and it's a 3/1. So it has very low toughness, only 1 toughness. So your opponent, for example, might try to cast Lightning Bolt on it. Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So casting Lightning Bolt, when you choose to cast it, you have to choose a target creature. So your opponent would say target the core Scythe Master. If you then play Blossoming Defense on the core Scythe Master, target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Now the +2/+2 would make this a 5/3, which is not enough to save it from the Lightning Bolt, because the Lightning Bolt does 3 damage. But the hexproof means that the core Scythe Master can no longer be the target of a spell that the opponent controls, that Lightning Bolt. So when the Lightning Bolt goes to resolve, it has no valid target, and we say that it fizzles. And so this core Scythe Master survives, and it's a 5/3 until the end of the turn. Let's look at a couple more ways to give hexproof. Here's Swiftfoot Boots. It's an artifact. It's equipment. You pay 2 to put it on the battlefield, and then you can equip it and look down at the bottom for 1 at sorcery speed. So it's going to cost you 3 to get this onto a creature, but that equipped creature has hexproof, and it has haste. Here's another artifact equipment. Costs 2 again to get it on the battlefield. Also costs 1 to equip it way down at the bottom there. But looking up above that, pay 2. Equipped creature gains hexproof until end of turn. So you have to activate this each turn that you want to have hexproof, but you can do that at any speed, at instant speed. You don't have to wait until a main phase on your turn. And notice this one also has a nice ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on equipped creature if it's blue. So nice card to play if you're running a deck with a lot of blue creatures. Well, how do you deal with creatures that have hexproof other than dealing with them in combat? Well, here are a couple of examples. Scouring Sands is 1 and a red for a sorcery that deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control, and then you can scry 1. So when we have this kind of wording, it deals 1 damage to each creature. It doesn't have to target a specific creature. It just hits everything that's on the board over there. Similar to that is Electrickery. For 1 red, it deals 1 damage to target creature that you don't control. Well, that's not going to work against a hexproofer. But down below that, it has a special mechanic called Overload, 1 and a red. You may cast this spell for its overload cost, and if you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. Let me just read it with that replacement. Electrickery deals 1 damage to each creature you don't control. So that's quite different then. So once again, you pay 1 and a red to do 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. So that's just doing 1 damage. You're going to have to come up with some other ways to deal with larger creatures. You might consider something like Geth's Verdict. It's black for an instant. target player sacrifices a creature and loses 1 life. This is a great way to deal with the situation in which an opponent has only 1 creature, or maybe only good creatures, and you want them to sacrifice something. So if they have only 1 creature, they're going to have to sacrifice it. If they have a bunch of creatures, they're going to have to pick the one that they want. So here we're targeting the player, not a creature. And so Hexproof doesn't come into play if it's only a creature ability. So those are some of the details of how Hexproof works. I hope this has been informative and helpful to you. If you look down below, you'll see a like button and a subscribe button. I'd appreciate it if you'd hit both of those. And you can read further in the description for ways to get a hold of me using other social media tools. So thanks very much, GG, and I'll talk to you soon.